Isaac Newton was born in Woolsthorpe, Lincolnshire, England, on December 25, 1642. Newton was born 3 months after the death of his father, a prosperous farmer, also named Isaac Newton. When Newton was 3, his mother remarried and went to live with her new husband, the Reverend Barnabas Smith, leaving her son in the care of his grandmother, Marjorie Esquire. At the age of about 12 until he was 17, Newton was educated at the King's School, Grantham. In June 1661, he was admitted to Trinity College, Cambridge. In 1665, he discovered the generalized binomial theorem and began to develop a mathematical theory that later became known as the infinitesimal calculus. He paid his way through college for the first 3 years by waiting tables and cleaning rooms for faculty and wealthier students. Isaac Newton was very interested in the discoveries of Galileo and others. Isaac Newton explained the workings of the universe through mathematics. He formulated laws of motion and gravitation. These laws are math formulas that explain how objects move when a force acts on them. Isaac published his most famous book, Principia, in 1687 while he was a mathematics professor at Trinity College, Cambridge. In the Principia, Isaac explains 3 basic laws that govern the way objects move. He then described his idea or theory about gravity. Gravity is the force that causes things to fall down. In his book, Isaac also uses his laws to show that planets revolve around the sun in orbits that are oval, not round. In his work, Newton described universal gravitation and the 3 laws of motion, which dominated the scientific view of the physical universe for the next 3 centuries. Isaac Newton used 3 laws to explain the ways objects move. They are often called Newton's law. The first law states that an object that is not being pushed or pulled by some force will stay still or will keep moving in a straight line at a steady speed. The second law explains how a force acts on an object. An object accelerates in the direction the force is moving it. The third law states that if an object is pushed or pulled, it will push or pull equally in the opposite direction. Newton's first major public scientific achievement was the invention, design, and construction of a reflecting telescope. Principia is generally considered to be one of the most important scientific books ever written due to the specific physical laws the work specifically described and for the style of work. Newton built the first practical reflecting telescope and developed a theory of color based on the observation that a prism decomposes white light into many colors that form the visible spectrum. He also formulated an empirical law of cooling and the speed of sound. Newton was also highly religious. He was an Orthodox Christian and wrote more on biblical hermeneutics and occult studies on the subjects of science and mathematics. In the 1990s, Newton wrote a number of religious tracts dealing with the literal interpretations of the Bible. Newton is clearly the most influential scientist who ever lived. His accomplishments in mathematics, optics, and physics laid the foundations for modern science and revolutionized the world. Many of his great ideas came in 1665 through 1666 when he spent his time back at Woolsthorpe while Cambridge was closed to the plague. Newton was a difficult man, prone to depression, and often involved in bitter arguments with other scientists, but by the early 1700s he was a dominant figure in British and European science. Isaac Newton was never married. Towards the end of his life, Newton took up residence at Cranberry Park near Winchester with his niece and her husband, until his death in 1727. Newton died in his sleep in London on March 31st, 1727, and was buried in Westminster Abbey. Sir Isaac Newton was an English physicist, mathematician, astronomer, natural philosopher, and alchemist who has been considered by many to be the greatest and most influential scientist who ever lived.
Mother piece of shit.